Hey guys, welcome to another Memory Monday, and today we're going to do a story that's similar to a story we've done before, but it's different because earlier we did the story of the 72 or the 70, depending on what version you prefer, disciples being sent out into all the communities where Jesus was going to go. In today's story, we're going to look at the 12 disciples being sent out by Christ for pretty much the same mission. But it's going to be interesting as we look at these two stories, how there are some differences. So join us as we learn about the 12 being sent out. All right, I'm not going to give a whole lot of introduction to this particular story because I just want to go through. It's interesting to me how if there are stories that have similarities, they can oftentimes be more difficult to remember, even if they're not complicated stories, at least for me, because what I find happening is my brain begins to move the other story that I've learned that is similar, and it's more difficult to get things in order. So without further ado, let's look at this story. Jesus sent out these 12 disciples after giving them instructions. Don't take the road that leads to the Gentiles. Don't enter any Samaritan town. Instead, go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And as you go, proclaim, the kingdom of heaven has come near. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse those with leprosy, drive out demons. Freely you have received, freely give. Don't acquire gold or silver or copper for your money belts. Don't take a traveling bag for the road, or an extra shirt, sandals, or a staff, for the worker is worthy of his food. When you enter any town or village, find out who is worthy, and stay there until you leave. Greet a household when you enter it, and if the household is worthy, let your peace return. If the household is worthy, let your peace be on it. But if it's unworthy, let your peace return to you. If anyone does not welcome you or listen to your words, shake the dust off your feet when you leave the house or town. Truly I tell you, it is more tolerable on the day of judgment for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah than for that town. And again, one of the ways I'm going to remember this story, and now the story I'm reading is from the CSB, so I haven't even gone out yet and done a comparison, but this is just my first go-round. But Jesus sent out these 12, and there was no disciples there, but I added that because that's who it is, after giving them instructions. Don't take the road that leads to the Gentiles. Don't enter any Samaritan towns. So there I've got Gentiles and Samaritans, which leads me right to the fact that he's telling them to go only to the house of Israel. And that as they go, they're to proclaim, the kingdom of heaven has come near. And then he goes out, he gives a series of different lists. And so for me, when I'm learning a story, these lists are actually memory hooks to hang these different aspects of heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse those with leprosy, and drive out demons. So, I mean, think about it. Healing the sick, raising the dead, cleansing of leprosy, and driving out demons. So those are kind of the four biggies when it comes to healing and deliverance. And so I'm going to think of that list of four. What are the four things that that if somebody, and I think some of the places I go through a little different, the enemy works a little differently than he does here. So healing the sick, raising the dead, cleansing those with leprosy, driving out demons. That would get people's attention. And then he starts talking about living by faith. Freely you've received, freely give. Don't acquire gold or silver or copper. Gold, silver, copper. So the copper there is it's a little odd. Now for me, again, the fact that there is an odd valuable there is a good thing, because gold and silver, I can remember that, right? But copper, wow, that's just a little different. And because it's different, it's going to make it easier to remember. Then he kind of repeats something he did from the other story. Don't take a traveling bag for the road, an extra shirt, sandals, or a staff. So here it's a shirt and a staff is extra. And then he throws in, for the worker is worthy of his food. And again, to me, that is an odd place for that to be put there. And that helps me. So here he's saying, you know, don't take extra stuff, for the laborer is worthy of his food. So he's saying you're gonna live by faith, but you're worth it. What you're doing is worth it. And boy, there's some questions there. Even as I'm learning this story, that is speaking to me, because as a missionary who raises funds, you know, there are times, and especially when I got started, you feel kind of like a beggar. You know, you feel kind of like your handout. And unfortunately, we haven't had to do much. The Lord has just provided and stirred people's hearts. But it's a struggle. And verses like this remind me, what we do, we're not begging. And then he goes into when you're in town or village and you find who is worthy, stay there. Greet a household when you enter it. If it's worthy, let your peace be on it. Interesting here, because I see a contrast between the other story we learned, because it seems here the individual the disciples are going to have control over whether their peace stays or returns. And then again, if anyone doesn't receive you, shake the dust off your sandals, off your feet, and leave. And then he finishes with that same reminder. I tell you, it's going to be more tolerable in the day of judgment for Sodom and Gomorrah than it is for that town. So as I'm going through this story, those are some of the things again, and you know, and I'm probably not going to review that story I did a few weeks ago before I do this story, because then it would get really, really confusing. If you find out there's some tricks or some things that help you in learning the story, I would love for you to put them down in the comments section. On Wednesday, I have an appointment to do this story with someone else, and so should be fun, and I hope you can join us. By the way, if you've not subscribed to the channel, sure would appreciate it. Just click on that subscribe button. I'd love to put it in this thing, but I don't know enough about all this digital stuff to figure that out. So sorry to make it a little bit more complicated than it needs to be. But until the next time, keep on telling those Bible stories.